Hi, Islamic Dad here. I'm gonna do a video that I'll call, dating in 2023 part 3, and it's gonna be more about some implications of what's happening right now. If you enjoy this channel and find these videos helpful, please subscribe. It does help me out a lot. So I've talked about kind of my experience at the ground level dating in 2023, and as I've mentioned, this is very much the experience that my male friends and my female friends are having too. And I wanted to kind of go and extrapolate that and kind of, kind of give a warning, I guess, for, lack of a better phrase. So caveats up front. I think this is like the third or fourth time that I've attempted to make this video, and I have not been happy with the results previously, and so hopefully I'll be able to kind of navigate the topic this way in a way that I'm happy with. Also, as I've said in my previous videos, this is not a men versus women or gender war topic or video or anything like that. And I think I've made it clear that, the experiences that I refer to, my female friends are having the exact same issues also. So, as you can probably tell from what's happening in, say, 2023, dating, a lot of people are taking themselves just completely out. They are so frustrated and honestly disappointed and disgusted with the quality, or I should say lack of quality, in the dating pool and what's out there, that they've simply given up, thrown in the towel, and are removing themselves from dating in 2023. They all have different goals in mind, but that seems to be a story that I hear quite often, again, from both genders. I know for myself, I'm pretty close to throwing in the towel at this point. I was talking with a female friend who was kind of, on the fence herself, and I was telling her about how, at this point, dating in 2023, how I'm really tired of the games being taken for granted, random ghosting, the lack of integrity, mixed signals galore. At least for me, that's one that I see more often than any of the other issues. And at this point in my life, I look for consistency. That is number one for me. And so when I am dating people and they, give me mixed signals, or as time goes on, you get the impression they don't even know what they're looking for. And so when they're in that state, they're never going to be happy. I mean, they're never going to say, okay, this is what I want, because they don't even know what they're looking for. So anyways, I could go on, but that, again, that's me and kind of the microcosm of dating where I'm at. People are just throwing in the towel, removing themselves from the dating pool. And as you can probably tell from the implication from that, as far as like, on a larger scale, obviously the rates of long-term relationships is going down. Honestly, short-term relationships is going down. Marriage, also decreasing. And, obviously with those happening, the rate, the birth rate is dropping. The population is dropping. And, I'm not going to get, quote, political or anything, but I think, if you look at the statistics, the reason that things do not appear as dire as they may actually be is because of the amount of immigration that we still have in the U.S., where the people that are currently in the country, the birth rate is just it's like it's fallen off a cliff, but we still have a lot of people immigrating from everywhere. I mean, just literally everywhere, all over the globe. And so that's kind of skewing the statistics. But I think that even then, things are going to get dire enough in the future where, even with that taken into account, the birth rates, drop. The drop in birth rate is going to be very noticeable. So, you've got, that issue. Alongside with that, if there's no children being born, that means that the average age of citizens in the U.S. is going to shift and get older and older and older. And the problem, well, there's multiple problems with that. I mean, one is that you have all those people leaving the workforce, which you would think would be a great thing with all these, jobs. But I think the issue is that we're seeing where, the drop in the labor pool is so huge that there are positions that just can't be filled. And the thing is, like, if I know people say, like, oh, well, no one wants to work anymore. Well, no. I mean, if someone has a job that pays $10 an hour and there's another one that pays $15, I'm going to go take the one that pays $15. And let's be clear, that is what is happening. It's not, if people didn't want to work, we would have an unemployment rate of like 15%, and that is not happening. People are finding jobs. They just happen to be better paying jobs. Not great, but better. So there's that issue with jobs, certain jobs having difficulty being filled. Additionally, you have, as if the healthcare system isn't damaged enough, if you have an aging population, that is going to put a strain on the healthcare system. And additionally, it's going to shift, in my belief, it's going to shift a lot of the normal, what I'll call normal jobs, to like retirement homes and end of life care and stuff like that, which is great, but not everyone wants to work in those. And to be honest, I have worked in them, and old people are nasty. They're grumpy, they're mean, they've got a sense of entitlement that would make a millennial blush. I mean, it is bad. So, getting back, so you have that going on. All of this stuff, not great. I mean, and then of course, pensions, to the extent that they still exist, pooled retirement funds, that type of thing. So, the question that, hopefully is being kicked around in your head is like, okay, everything that you've said makes sense. I agree that these issues are real. I've seen it happening around here, etc. Okay, what are things going to look like 5 years down the road? What are things going to look like 10 years down the road? And we don't have to extrapolate or use a crystal ball or anything like that. we can look to Japan. I don't know the socioeconomic reasons for this, but Japan, entered this phase at least 10 years ago. So if you want to see what the US is going to look like in, say, 2045, look at Japan now and the problems that they're dealing with. Again, in Japan, the population of, like, say, young people, middle-aged people, they've all just stopped dating. Both men and women have just quit. They've just dropped out. And that's very much like, the typical median. If you want to go farther to the edge, you have a phenomena called hikikomori, where people have just simply withdrawn from society. I don't know how else to describe it. They've basically withdrawn from society, and they live in their room, and they don't really do anything but watch TV and eat ramen and read manga. And so again, like, obviously those people are not going to be in the dating pool, but again, like, that's an extreme. Even the people that are working 9 to 5s, or in Japan 8 to 8s, are not dating, getting into the relationships, and more broadly speaking, they're not getting married, they're not having children. This problem has become so bad in Japan that the government has actually stepped in and is now paying couples to get married and have children. And at this point, the population does not care. Even being enticed with money, people would rather just be single. They don't want to mess with meeting people of the opposite sex. They don't want to mess with dating. They don't want to mess with, trying to build a relationship that works for both people, for, navigating a marriage and married life. They just have no interest in that, even when the government's throwing money at the problem. Additionally, as I said, because they've started this, phase at least 10 years prior to the U.S., at this point, I believe that 1/3 of the Japanese population is 65 or older. And it has become a huge problem. Like I said, with like the issue with jobs and just kind of the broader economy. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, okay, just think, if you have a business and normally you have 10 customers that come in every day, buy products and stuff, and you get your profit off of the 10 people that come in every day, and then the population drops by a quarter, drops by a third, drops in half. At that point, instead of 10 people coming into your shop, there are now only 5. Your income as someone who runs that business has just dropped in half. And I'm assuming that things are not going to change on the cost side. It's not like property taxes are going to necessarily go down. I don't know about real estate, if that's, adjusting. But that's the issue, is like, if you have a shrinking population, there are all these, it has an impact on a lot of areas that people don't really necessarily think about. And so it's been interesting to see how Japan has tried to handle this, and also looking at Japan and seeing how the problems affected them. I won't get into the ins and outs of Japanese culture, but I think it's well known to be pretty xenophobic. And so Japan's in a particularly difficult place because, a lot of, I assume those in government understand that they will need people to immigrate to Japan to offset the population decrease. But at the same time, Japan can say, okay, hey, immigrants, come on in. But if the general population treats the immigrants as less than human, they're going to leave at best. And at worst, you'll have a situation where they will revolt in multiple ways. I mean, this goes back hundreds, at least hundreds of years with the Yakuza, where, the ethnicity of the members of the Yakuza is typically not the same ethnicity as the rest of Japan. Again, I'm not an expert on this issue. It's just something that I find fascinating. Ultimately, it doesn't necessarily impact or is a good indicator of what's going to happen in the U.S. other than we're going to need immigrants if the population continues to decrease in order to prop up the economy. But that said, I mean, going back, I just wanted to talk on this subject because I'm just some guy. I'm just some guy out there dating. I was married, had some kids, now I'm divorced. Okay, my friends, I don't know if they had kids or not, but I mean, same deal. Maybe they were married, maybe they weren't, but they're all in the dating pool. And if everyone is experiencing this at a micro level, then the macro level impact on the U.S. is going to be pretty negative. And so this problem of just people not being able to date because the dating pool is garbage right now. People can laugh and shrug it off and stuff, but the thing is, it's impacting the society at large, and as this continues, that impact is going to grow, and it's going to have more, a ripple effect on other aspects. What's the solution? I don't know. I mean, I think that I can certainly talk about my own experiences in the dating pool. Maybe other people are experiencing these themselves. I've noticed a really bizarre trend where some people, if I can phrase it that way, some people, when they are either rejected, have bad experiences dating, have bad experiences in relationships, or have self-esteem issues, instead of working to improve themselves, do the work on themselves, they just raise the bar. And so it's this very strange thing where you have people that are really messed up, have tons of baggage, all these issues that they just don't deal with. Maybe, to be blunt, they're not particularly attractive, either physically or their personality. And instead of being realistic as far as going out into the dating pool, they just keep raising the bar. And so, it's just basically like this weird form of self-sabotage because, ultimately they end up where they are like, oh, I'm going to go, I want to date. And then they pull out a list, and it might be 50 items, 50 traits where they're like, okay, I need someone who has all 50 of these traits for me to consider going out on a first date. And this isn't new. I mean, I knew I knew some ugly people back in the 90s who did this. Basically, every time they got rejected, they would just add another item to their list. And it was funny because they would almost brag about it, where they would say, yeah, the reason I'm single is just because I have high standards. And it's like, well, yeah, high to the point of being unrealistic. You're not a supermodel with a PhD working to cure cancer. So why are you looking for that as far as like who you'll date just on the first date? So that's one issue that I see. Another issue is just what people want. This might be more of a Gen X thing because I don't know that many millennials that I hang out with, and certainly not Zoomers. But a lot of people, that my friends, both male and female, that are Gen X, have just been burned to the point where they say, hey, I don't want anything serious. Marriage off the table, long-term committed relationship off the table. I just want something casual. I just want something where once or twice a month we go get dinner, go get dancing, and maybe have some fun. And I've talked, I've said, what is up with that? And they've become very emotional and just said, look, my last relationship, I got my heart broken. I am still recovering from that. I don't know if I'll ever recover, but I know that I don't want to get my heart broken again. So I'm just going to keep this emotional distance. And for people like me, that's just, speaking Mandarin. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, because to me, having your heart broken is, as painful as it is, it's part of the human experience. And I'm just like, okay, if you don't want your heart broken, go live in a cave up in the mountains. Just opt out. Which is, kind of funny, because that's essentially, what they're doing. So that's one aspect. And then just a lot of people that have become so disappointed and honestly disgusted with the dating pool, with the games, the mixed messages, ghosting for just at random points, that they're just like, no, I'm done. And so they're just like, and a lot of them have just said, look, I have friends. That is now my relationship, which I don't disagree with. I find it interesting, but I've had multiple friends, male and female, just say, no, I don't look for emotional intimacy or connection in the opposite sex. I have my friend group. We just get together. The women might say, once a week I do, bitch and stitch, or we, drink wine and paint or something like that. And like, that's what works for them. And then of course with, on the guy side, gym bros, which is quite an interesting phenomena in 2023, where it's just like, no, dude, instead of chasing women, I'm just going to go to the gym and just work out until I feel like I got hit by a bus, and then just go hang out with my friends, maybe play some Xbox. And but at the same time, have an emotional, and I'm talking about the gym bros, have an emotional connection with their friends, and just say like, yeah, dude, I'm having this problem with, at work, or I'm having this problem with, my relative or something like that, and just be honest and get feedback and be heard and stuff. And so, like, on both sides, I think that's actually really wonderful that men are finding other men to connect with that way, and that women are finding other women to connect with that way. But at the end of the day, the human race needs to go on. And if you have women over here, men over here, and neither of those groups have any interest in dating or relationships or marriage or having children, then things are going to look like Japan. And so, again, ultimately, I have no clue as to what could change people's attitude and their perspective and how they approach, relationships. But I just know that if things continue, we will look like Japan, and that in 2035, you'll have 1/3 of the U.S. population be 65 and older. You'll have the economy just decimated, as if it's not pretty bad right now, simply because there's less people buying things in the economy, because so many people have just simply died. People are not, kids are not being born. It's just the whole population is dropping. And so, it's not going to look good. I mean, we can, look at Japan. But yeah, I wanted to make this video because I know that a lot of people in 2023 go through the, dating experience with kind of these blinders on, where they only see their own experience, what happens to them, the bad dates, the good dates, etc. And they're not looking at everyone else going through this, and also what the larger impact is to the entire society. So hopefully this video has been helpful, and if not helpful, at least entertaining.